Come on. Hello. Hello, friend.
There's
There
Miki.
you go. Have a treat.
Oh,
Yep. There. Come on, buddy. Come on. Good boy.
come on, all you doggies, won't you walk with me? I'm the puppet dog. Welcome to the Animal Intuitive channel. Today we have a very special episode in honor of Canine Veterans Day. This is a day we honor working dogs, and today we get the opportunity to sit down with Chris Cappa, former U.S. Navy SEAL who has dedicated his life to service and now to supporting retired military canines as the ambassador for the Warrior Dog Foundation. Chris's journey is one of resilience and purpose, and he has worked closely with his canine partner, Miki, who we have the honor of having here in a little bit.
These are the ones who've been bred to serve. Honor is their birthright. When you work with these warriors, you learn that loyalty is a value that isn't simply taught. It's one they're born with. Built through a relationship of trust, through a bond of companionship, through a brotherhood of shared sacrifice and steadfast dedication. They were forged through rigorous training and honed by the finest instructors on earth. But at their core, they possess a courage that can't simply be learned. Comprised of partners who never flinch in the face of danger or waver at the prospect of sacrifice, these canine units serve beside our nation's warriors as they fight to preserve what we cherish. We've taught them how to fight, and in return, they've shown us what unconditional loyalty looks like. Bravery is in their blood. Valor is an instinct. When these warriors complete their duty, the Warrior Dog Foundation provides them with a home deserving of the service they've given us all. At our state-of-the-art kennels, they receive rehabilitation and care suitable for heroes. Because that's what they are. When you work with these warriors, you're with a soldier who doesn't retreat and one that never gives up. That's what they teach us, and that's why we can't give up on them. Be a part of giving them a future today. Visit warriordogfoundation.org.
So welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. We're honored to have you here. It sounds like an interesting journey. How you got
It has been an interesting journey, and I'm very thankful and grateful for the journey because that's kind of helped build kind of everything that we have going on today. So Um, this thing with dogs started, way back when I was actually a young kid, probably about first grade. I found my first dog in a closet. He was taken from a police seizure, I believe. I had an uncle who was on the SWAT team, and the dog ended up was all mad when we had found it. And I was in first grade, small 5 or 6 year old, and my mom let me keep it, and ended up being a small little toy poodle. And from there, my affinity for dogs just kind of grew. And as I aged, I had multiple rescues from the shelter. We always had a rescue from the shelter growing up, and those dogs would age out. And then as I got older, I found myself wanting to work with dogs at a higher level. And as I progressed through a couple jobs and careers, and I found my way into the Navy right around the 2012, 2013, 14 time. I pursued that at a high level and joined the SEAL teams and became a canine handler and ended up running the NSW kennel on the East Coast for a few years before I got out. So that's kind of it condensed down a little bit. The passion for dogs has always been there. It's always been one of something I've had a big space in my heart for. And now working with them at the high level within the SEAL teams, especially with the one that I've got to retire here and kind of his whole story and how he came into my life, it's been nothing but a great time and a blessing on my end. So yeah.
Yeah, because you actually started out football as a football player. Or something like that?
I did. So I don't use the word typical jock, but through high school, I did play sports quite a bit. Football was what I preferred, and that got me into college here locally in Virginia, here in the Tidewater area at Christopher Newport University. So I started playing football for them around 2006. And that journey was one that, I was a young man who needed to learn a lot about the world and how it worked. And they gave me a lot of opportunity to grow there and, without severe consequences that, could have been, not able to be easily fixed later down the road. So I got to grow as a young man there, got to play some football, hit some people. And through that journey, it kind of led me into the Hampton Roads area, which heavy Navy presence, kind of the big East Coast presence for the naval fleet here. So I started getting little pieces of that breadcrumb as I moved into the area. And as I went through that, I ended up taking a job as a martial arts instructor after I had been many years of training there in the studio. And the owner at the time was a gentleman named Frank Cucci, and he was a plank owner at one of the SEAL teams here on the East Coast. And that's kind of started getting the breadcrumb of naval special warfare and kind of the SEALs and what they're about.
Okay, and so then you end up you get into the Navy SEAL, and then somehow tell us about how you met Miki.
Right. So it wasn't immediately when I got in the Navy was I able to be a dog handler. So I had to go through all the rigors that a normal Navy SEAL would go through. So I went through BUDS, SQT, SEAL qualifying training, and then I actually had a full rotation within a SEAL platoon before I came over to the dog program. So it wasn't until my second deployment I had come home. My troop chief has kind of told me, hey, they reinvigorated the dog program and they're looking for handlers. And I said, I was raising my hand back when I was still a student at BUDS for that opportunity. So I jumped on it, very motivated. I showed up to the kennel very early, like months early for the kennel. So some of the trainers there kind of gave me that wide-eyed shock look like, well, what are you doing here, man? The course doesn't start for another 3 months. So I got to meet those guys very early on, and we're still good friends today, the training staff from NSW East Coast Dog Kennel. But they gave me some books to read, kind of to understand how animal behavior works, which I thought was something I hadn't really dove into. So I took that by the horns and read some really great books about just animal behavior, and not just dogs in specific, but just on aggression was one of the books, and that was really about birds and fish for the most part, but it just talked more about the psychology behind why animals do what they do. So fast forward to the winter, I think we checked into that course around January, so it was relatively cold here in Virginia, and for some reason I had this assumption that we were going to be able to go kind of walk down the line and pick our dogs. And that was not the case. I must have forgotten for a moment that I was in the military and they're going to issue me a dog. They're going to tell me what I need. So right at Bushy Tail, we're on like day 3. First days are just kind of classroom days, going through PowerPoints. If you get bit, don't scream. How to clean the kennels properly. So things like that were kind of covered the first 2 days. And then we were assigned our dogs on day 3. So we kind of already had an idea like which dogs were in the kennel. Some dogs were getting moved in and out quite a bit because they were in the training cycle. But there was a really, really pretty dog there named Red, and he was this large, he must have been close to 100-pound Belgian Malinois. And when I mean red, he had a really nice red hue to his coat. So I've got my eyes on him thinking that's going to be the one. I'm going to definitely go for him. He already had some training on him as well. So it'd be a really nice, easy transition, I thought. So trainers are going down the line. We've got a brand new guy coming in as a dog handler. They yell his name out. They assign him to the dog that I was hoping for, and I realized really quickly kind of where this road was going, which made sense. He was new, so having him a more trained asset was going to kind of speed up his progression quite a bit. So I understood that decision. So we're going down the line. Another big, werewolf-looking beast behind the kennel here, and I'm like, hey, maybe Rex would be the pick for me. Unfortunately, he went to a friend of mine, the next handler up. So okay, there's 18 dogs in this kennel, so I'm thinking there's plenty here. But we pull up to Miki's kennel, and there's this. At the time, I think they just got him in a few months ago at 10 months, and he was right around 12 or 13 months at the time. So relatively young, still a puppy, but physically mature. And he's kind of got this little crumpled ear and just kind of wagging his tail, smiling at you, and it just had this puppy dog look to him. And they said, "Hey man, he's a handful. So be ready. We're giving him to you because he is a handful, and you've been really outward about how you want to be a handler. So we think he's a good choice for you." So we fast forward through that 18-week course and into where we start deploying. He's actually the only dog that made it through that course and actually deployed from that training group. Oh. So the young pup did well, and he went on multiple deployments after that. But wasn't disappointed that it was him. Didn't know the gem that I had in front of me. But definitely I was judging books by its cover and just kind of looking through a cage and saw some really pretty dogs that I wanted to handle. So, but that was the first day I met Miki, and that's when we started kicking it off.
Wow. So none of the other dogs, did they ever do anything as far as working?
No. So you remember the attrition rate on some of these dogs are very similar to the guys that are going through training. So we might get 5 to 10 dogs in, and really 1 or 2 of those will actually make it downrange. And that's just for a slew of reasons. Mm-hmm. Some may be medical reasons. Once we get them in, they may get washed for whatever medical condition that the Navy deems unfit. But in the case of Red, it was actually a really unfortunate event. We actually arrived at the kennel to do husbandry work one day, me and a good friend who was his handler at the time. And we found him, belly up in the kennel. And we were able to get him in the vehicle and rush him to get some help. And it ended up he had some form of bloat, which ended up being some sort of neurological condition that he had. Again, big, deep-chested dog, quite a bit of stress. And we just saw, handler good on him. He saw all the signs and symptoms and immediately knew what to do from the training. So we knew that he's vomiting with froth all over the ground. He's got a distended stomach. We knew kind of what we had in our hands and how critical it was. And we got him moved ASAP, and they ended up saving his life right here in Virginia Beach. We had to retire him after that, and he lived out the rest of his days and just recently passed away, actually, about 6 months ago from the same condition. So
everybody, the deep-chested dogs have, there's one brand that I'm not sure they're still making it, but Bloat Buster was one of them. Right. I have that on hand because I have a German Shepherd.
Right.
Like if I take him anywhere, I always have that because that'll potentially save their lives if they bloat.
Right. Yeah, it was out of nowhere. It's one of those freak things. And
that happens. It's like sudden.
It is. And then Rex was a great dog. He was huge. You definitely didn't want to get bit by him. Unfortunately, there's just so many environmentals that these dogs have to be able to be neutral to. And gunfire just wasn't one of them for Rex. So unfortunately, that's unsatisfactory as far as standards for being a seal dog. You've got to be able to operate in those conditions, and Rex unfortunately wasn't able to. But we were able to repurpose Rex with one of the local police departments, and now he went on to have a great career. So he still found work and still found purpose down the road as well.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened to those particular 2 dogs. They're just two kind of different instances of where dogs just didn't quite make the cut, but they weren't mission capable and couldn't go on a deployment.
Okay. So when you started working with Miki, were there challenges with him, or was he just sort of like the perfect working, ready to go.
Well, any handler is going to say their dog is the best, perfect working, asset that they have. But like with any dog, he's got his own quirks, his own heart, his own soul. Sometimes he wants to go left, and I want him to go right. And he's a dog that has a very strong will. And remember, we pick these dogs for certain characteristics, and one of them is, hey, will you work for a reward? So do you have the drive to work for the said toy, whatever the said toy is that we're using at the time that we're carrying for reward? Are you willing to basically run through the burning building for it? Because if you're willing to do that, we can leverage that to get you to do certain things in a tactical environment through training purposes. So Miki loves his ball, particularly Kong ball. No plug there. We're not getting paid, but the Kong ball is absolutely his jam, and we leverage that, and we use that tool to get him to work in a very, very, very stressful environment and keep him focused. But once he got the Kong, that's where we started to run into some of those issues. So dogs can get happy, they'll start chomping on this thing. With Miki, it seemed to evolve pretty quickly within seconds, from enjoying the Kong to trying to devour it. So a lot of salivation, becoming very ravenous over it. And that hindered us when we had to do transitions, because that's how we're paying the dogs when they find explosive odor. So we hit on explosive odor, we pay them immediately, we walk away, but hey, we're still in the building doing the mission. We have to continue on. We can't just stop and have a 15-minute Kong break here. So we've got to have a transition time of about 2 minutes. So that ball needs to come back to me, get put away, and we need to get our head clear to be able to progress through the next checkpoint or next mission point here. So with Miki, unfortunately, he had a hard time giving that ball up, and he gave a hard time with it. And even to this day, it's kind of one of the reasons he had such a challenge transitioning to civilian life, is really the possessiveness over that toy. I'd say with his one and only quirk that we kind of really had to work through from the time we had gotten him, which you could say we probably didn't put the right training on him from the beginning, just out of the speed of the training and how fast we needed to progress him. So maybe some things that could have been worked on early on could have saved us on the back end. Just unfortunately, we weren't allotted that time. So yeah, the possession of the ball, that's his hit.
I understand. My dog he has his ball, and that's his. My neighbor calls it his baba, or his pacifier. He has to have it all the time. But so does that happen a lot, where because of the pressure of time, and that you're sort of in a situation where there is a rush?
I would say that in some scenarios, yes, and in others, no. The training staff at the time that we had that were on actually conducting the training for us were outstanding. The two guys there that were taking charge and really making sure that the dogs were what we needed did a good job. And if we needed a typewriter back to something where we needed to fix it, we took the time to do so in most cases. With this, it was always seemed just manageable enough to where we could kind of say, okay, well, he's working with it, or hey, you're fast enough where if he comes up the leash, you're not getting, clacked on. So hey, we're good. And that was a lot of me, and personally as the handler, I think covering up something that probably needed to be taken care of. And that was just probably a lot of pride and ego invested into that. And hey, we're still meeting standard or exceeding standard, and I don't think it's a big problem. Let's just keep it moving. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, yeah, the standard is the standard. You will give your ball up. Everything's pretty much black and white at the kennel for the dogs, just so it's crystal clear for them. So there is no confusion, especially when we get in the heightened environment and stressful environments, start to type out.
So when you're doing the training, and I'm sorry, you might have said this, so you're doing that here, like in the United States, you're doing.
Yeah. And for the most part, the training can be local. And what I mean by local, wherever that unit or that team's going to be, resided at. And then what we'll do is we'll have a workup for about close to 18 months. And within that workup period, the handler's gone through an 18-week handler course, which is done on post. And then they'll take, traveling trips and training trips to different places just to get a different look. So we're not using the same scenarios in the same buildings, and the dogs are smart and they can condition very well to things, and they start to kind of game it. So we do go off site And then when we get into what we would call unit level training or ULT level training, that's when we've got everybody together working as one. And that's when we will take off to different states throughout the U.S. to get in different environments, whether that be hot, cold, mountainous. And that way the dog, again, has to acclimate to those as well. Because anywhere that I'm going or the team's going, the asset's also expected to go and not become a liability. So he's there with us training, whether we're in snow, whether we're in a vehicle. And we have to move around quite a bit to get to some different training areas.
That must be so interesting and fascinating to travel all over with him and go to different places.
And it is
pretty much what you're doing, like in your training. That's who you're expected to sort of be once you go to wherever you're deployed to.
Right.
That's okay. So now. So once you go overseas with him, so where did you go with Miki?
So our first deployment with Miki was, we ended up in Africa, and that was kind of the rotational spot for the platoon and for the troop. So nothing really out of the ordinary there. What moved us around into the Middle East was the unfortunate loss of NPC Charlie, who was a West Coast multi-purpose canine for SEAL Team 7. They were on a mission, one of their first missions of their deployment, doing a direct action, looking for high value target. And Charlie went to engage, and he did unfortunately get shot, I believe, twice, and saved his handler and his number 2 man absolutely, because it was an ambush. And Charlie was the first one to sense that, see that, and then react before the handler even really had a good beat on the situation. So we ended up backfilling Charlie in Iraq. And that didn't extend us, but just moved us into the Middle East, where we then got comfortable with SEAL Team 7 and then augment with them. So for me, Miki's been through Europe to get to that point, Africa, Iraq, and then he's had 3 other handlers, I believe, after me. So he's moved around quite a bit.
So how was he once he got over there and you started working with him there? Does he have any adjustment, or does he just kind of like go work? He knows what he's doing.
Well, the first struggle we had is we didn't have a kennel to put him in when we got there, and he's a dog that doesn't do well outside of a kennel as far as sleeping or calming down. He likes that close space. So the first couple of nights, it was we were up for a while, but once we got our equipment and we got our gear, immediately the protocol was we got to start to transition him and get him acclimated to the heat, the humidity, and whatever other elements we're going to be working in, and that's kind of where I saw that's something we also can start at home. So we really had taken the past, say, 6 months doing hot walks, making sure we got the dog at the temperature, making sure we're cooling the dog down properly. Hey, what are our thresholds here? What's our coat doing? Do we need to brush a little bit extra? So all those things come into effect when we're talking about getting a dog into what could be a very hot environment, and even at night hot. So even when the sun goes down, we're still talking about 80, 90 degrees with 100% humidity. And I've got a double-coated European dog that's with me. So, first thing is get acclimated to heat. Second thing is anything new that the explosive ordnance team found, we need to get on that odor and make sure that we're confident on it and that we can find it in small doses. So those are the 2 main priorities when we get into country. Heat acclimation and any new odors, we want to train on those as soon as possible.
Okay. So break that down a little bit. So they have to learn... Wait, the second part.
So multi-purpose canines are dual or multi-purpose. So they can go out and they can be apprehension dogs and go, bite people and bring them to us, or apprehend them, hold them in place. He's also able to go out and find explosive odor for us, which is probably the most valuable characteristic of that asset, is that there's nothing else to my knowledge, the U.S. military's inventory across all branches that can find bombs through walls, with enough standoff between you and the bomb to where you can remain safe. So he's got what I always like to call X-ray vision. There's nothing else in the inventory that can do it. And that's why he's so special and unique, and why we want him with us, is that he can save people's lives immediately.
As I mean, through walls, like through a building on the outside.
Yeah. So remember, we're looking for odor. So odor is going to permeate, and we're in a really hot environment. So odor is going to really pick up in a hot environment and want to travel upwards. So we're talking about, and we're not talking about normally a small amount of explosive odor when these dogs are finding it. They're finding either large caches or they're coming over large booby traps, right? Looking to take out vehicle convoys or lines of platoon, people walking in straight lines like platoons, right? So it's not hard for them. I won't say it's not hard. It's not hard for them to necessarily catch this odor from a good distance away and show you a change of behavior, because that's what we're looking for as the handler, right? We've trained on up to 16 to 20 odors before we even got in country. So those dogs can find those odors, whether it be a single source odor or that odor in a bunch of other odors, and can differentiate between whether that's high, low, medium, where is it actually at in the house or on the road. So he has the ability to go out and actually point that nose, just like a bird dog, right where he's finding an explosive odor, which is very valuable to any military conflict. So, and then once we get into country, we take really the same training methods we did in the U.S., and that's scent boxes, scent walls, working small hides in rooms that we have control over, kind of what's going on in that room. And we'll get with our explosive ordnance disposal teams, and whatever they may have taken off the target, we get a small sample, and we start using that, again, crawl, walk, run, back to our boxes, our small basic hides, and then we'll start putting those on long, let's say 10K infill routes. So now we're doing a few things on that. Not only are we testing and training the dog's heat capability, but we're also asking that dog to work and find that new odor as well. Mm-hmm. That was kind of sum up some of the new transitional things we would do when we got into country.
Okay. That sounds fascinating. So, so how did he do? Did he?
He did outstanding. I mean, training, he never wavered there. It was a nightly training regimen. He stayed healthy. He was happy with it. I think he enjoyed the work. And then when we got our opportunity to actually go downrange and go help the boys, he was an asset, and they called on him first. And that was to make sure that we could stay safe. And I think we had earned, because we were also, say, implanted to a new platoon. We had not trained with this platoon prior to deployment. This was a mid-deployment shift that we got lifted and picked up to. So when we really got to operate, we came into Team 7 with the mentality like, hey, we're the new guys here. Let's make sure that we're up to standard, and we're showing them we're here to work and save lives. And I think we did that. And when our number was called, Miki performed very well. One particular target was had quite a few women and children, and relatively loud. It's a disruptive scene. And he worked through that distraction very well to where we could even work him off a leash, knowing that he was on task looking for explosive odor and not worried about the distractions that were present there. So he's had dogs charge him in the middle of searches. He's native dogs that may be just kind of roaming around that we thought were locked up in the courtyard, and they're not. And he's, again, knows to stay on the ground looking for bombs for us. So he did extremely well on all of his deployments. He transitions well into that heat and that environment very well. And when he was active, he absolutely loved to work, and that's what made him so special.
Oh, so when you have him in those environments, I'm sure there's different types, but I mean, like you said, lots of women and children. So is he sometimes out in like more like a remote area, but he's also sometimes in like a very urban?
Yeah, absolutely. So anywhere from where, we are in just a wide open desert, or even say a heavy brush, and we're have to get to where we're going first. So at any point in there, we want to utilize him as well for any standoff, for any explosive odors, and for anybody who may be hiding out, waiting in ambush as well. We're really using them as the tip of the spear in a lot of these scenarios where we deem it's necessary. And then once we get to where we're going, it's going to be a more confined space. It's going to be a small building, a hut, maybe even a small village, or it could be a very large city. We came into a vehicle package. We rode in on big trucks. Everyone knows we're there at that point, and he's got to be able to maintain stability in that environment until we need him to kind of pick it up to the next level. And I think that's what he did really well, was he had the ability to really ramp up, kind of red line, hey, we're in a fight. And then, hey, when that fight's over, okay, hey, we're done with that. Let's ramp back down. And I think he matured very well through training in the 2 years that I had him training with him, to figure out who was the bad guy and who wasn't. So, and that was through lots of repetitions and lots of repetitions. So understanding who dad came with in the pack, that he's there to defend, right? Because that's really how he sees it. Hey, these are my pack members. Everyone behind me is with me. Everyone in front of me normally is bad. And that's what we trained to. So he did really well, whether we were wide open out in spaces, gave me and the boys lots of standoff. And then when we got in a tight urban environment or a small town environment, again, he could ramp up and then bring it back down for us and then and be an asset for us.
So he would also be protective of you and your team. Like if somebody physically came after you, I don't know how much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. And we trained to that standard as well. Handler protection and really team member protection. He understands guys that look like that, smell like that, for the most part, smell like Copenhagen long cut, wearing the same uniform as dad. Those guys, that's what he's used to. That's what he knows of. It's a very different and distinct odor to them. It's a very different, distinct. Yeah.
So what? Sorry.
Copenhagen long cut. I mean, a lot of guys dip in the team, so it's kind of like a running joke. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Copenhagen. Yeah. So that's what I was saying. I was like, hey, as long as you smell like Copenhagen, you're wearing camouflage, the dog's probably going to know that you're with us.
Okay.
So yeah, he does a good job understanding who's who. And we really stress that through training. We can't tolerate a dog who is again going after the wrong person when in a low to no light environment as well. So now we're asking the dog to use proprioception, really kind of feel his way through the environment. We don't know what's in there. We have nods. We can see what's going on. But you can see the dog in that no light environment kind of slow everything down to be able to still execute mission. So, lots of different environmentals that they have to endure and go through and work through.
Were there any times when you were really worried for him? Did he?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, anytime I cut him off of leash and I ask him to go to go find him or to go do what he needs to go do. I mean, I'm essentially sending him what could be the last send, right? And for the best reason possible, right? That's his task, his role, his purpose is to inherit more risk than the operators. That's why we employ him. That's why they are such a critical asset to us. That's why in retirement, we really need to think about how we're treating them and what we're doing, because again, we lean on them so heavily in those times of war when we need that oomph to be able to complete the mission. He's that 10x factor for us, that force multiplier. So yeah, I mean, he's treasured. He's treasured on the team. He's looked at just like one of the boys. He goes down. It's a casualty call. We're treating it like it's the next guy. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how scary that must be. And you have to maintain your training and what you have to do while doing that. That's got to be very difficult.
It can be, because in reality, your job is still, and this is kind of, you're still a shooter first. You're supposed to be active and you're supposed to be able, a high level gunfighter first and foremost. And that is every SEAL's job. Period, point blank. We can sugarcoat all we want, but you're supposed to be one of the world's best small unit gunfighters, hands down. That skill can't diminish just because you carry 60 pounds of fur missile on your hip. So in my opinion, it's a really special position any handler could be in, because you are still there to be active on your weapon system and still manage another weapon system at the same time. And he has his own thoughts on what he wants to go do.
Yeah.
So you're doing 2 or 3 things at once, trying to make sure that, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. You're still engaged and able to be an asset to everyone around you. So yeah, it can get, that's kind of the fun challenge of it all, is balancing all that.
Yeah.
And finding the balance and how to do that. Again, you send them, are you sending them down a long hallway where there's multiple doors between you and him? What if someone jumps out and now cuts you guys off? Now there's no line of sight between you and him. Now we have a problem. So those kinds of thoughts have to happen every time we're going to cut this animal off leash and say, hey man, go handle the business for us. And that's what the handler's trained to do, is really critically think about, what am I asking him to do? How is it going to benefit us? And what may the repercussions be? We've got to make that decision in like 13 to 40 seconds.
Yeah. So they train you in all sorts of different scenarios. Like this could happen. This could happen. You could be cut off. You could be, someone could grab him. Someone could threaten, like, oh, I got your dog. Right. Maybe that would
Absolutely.
be, maybe he wouldn't allow, I don't know if he would allow that, trained dog like that, but, were there any particular situations that really did really were?
I would say yeah, while we were downrange, I would say that there was no immediate, like, oh man, I haven't put him in a position to win. So downrange, active, no. I would say that I felt very confident in all my decisions. Now, were they dangerous? Absolutely. Could they have been life-threatening? Absolutely. But at the same time, we lean on training. We have to be confident in our decisions, and absolutely, I was in all the ones that I made when we were on deployment. And he came out on top on all those. Yeah. In training, there's been one time in particular where I made a very bad decision, and I will say it was probably the best lesson learned that I could have had, and in a perfect place in training, right? So I'll speak to that one a little bit. But we were in training somewhere out in the desert, and we were going to hit this fake hospital. So this is legitimately 16 floors high. We have not made entry into the building yet, but we're in a line and we're stacked up and we're moving towards the door to make entry. I am young and dumb and eager to just get this dog through the door and get him in here to go. And at the time we're training, so he wears just a muzzle. So he muzzle fights everybody. So for anybody who's not familiar with that, that is a Ray Allen basket muzzle with metal running through it, wrapped in leather, and he can just kind of muzzle fight. And what we're looking for there is that the dog stay engaged even though he has the equipment on. And if he does, big old check there, right? So he's ripped up, ready to go. We're pulling up to this door. I'm all over the talk box, just like, hey, permission to release the dog, permission to release the dog. We have not made entry into the 16-story building yet. I don't have any trainers with me. It's the end of our training cycle. You go off on your own, you make your own decisions in training. You don't really have a range safety officer for the dog side of things right now. So I was ready to go. I was whatever I wanted to do for the most part, as long as my chief needed to go ahead. So get to the door, get the release. Chief says, go ahead. We hear gunshots coming out from what I assume is the first deck, the first level of the hospital. Let the dog go. Looking down at my screen, dog's wearing a camera. I can see what he sees. I'm looking. Okay, he passed every single door, and he's headed up he's headed up the steps. Well, we haven't even cleared the first deck yet. So now, to my point earlier, I've got a whole level of potential threat between me and my dog. And I can't go run in there and go grab his leash and be like, hey man, no, this way, go back in there. Like, it's not an option in this scenario. So I go to my tools immediately, and I go to my e-collar and I beep her down. So I give an audio tone, a long tone beep. He lays down immediately. Whew, man, there's a big sigh of release for me, because I'm looking up now at the building and all the windows are open. And so my biggest fear is that, Knucklehead sees an open window and decides, hey, let's go check that out. And he comes flying out and meets us out of the second story. So I've got him in the down position. I'm useless at this point. So I'm just looking at the screen, just holding the beep button down. Anytime he tries to move, I'm beeping him down, trying to hold him in place. And he was there for every bit of 15, 20 minutes, just laying down while the whole team prosecuted the first problem. I finally got to make my way up the steps, grabbed my dog, what we call my suitcasing him out by his vest, and just took my sorry tail in the back of the train and just, stayed in the back the rest of the time, because we had not taken enough of an initial footstep in that building to be able to release that asset. Because again, we didn't know there were steps. We didn't know if there was any open doors. I had no information, no knowledge about the situation. So ultimately, I potentially sent him to his death. And that hung with me quite a bit. So as a learning point, that one stuck with me a lot. And we won't make that mistake again. So that was the one time in training I realized I'd really, really messed up. Like, that was a bad call all the way around.
Right. So I guess it taught you how to scout out, know better what you're sending them into.
Correct. Get an idea of the situation. What we would say is take a tactical pause, breathe for a minute. If you wanted to send him, then you need to take a really look at what the guys are doing and what they have in front of them. Is it 2 guys, 3 guys? Is it 10 guys in there? Because now we're sending one dog. He's got, and I didn't have any of that information, or couldn't even have guessed. So yeah, it was a poor decision on my behalf for sure. Yeah. Great learning lesson though. Yeah, great time to learn it. Great learning lesson.
Worst experiences are the best learning. So
yes, I completely agree.
And is it more than one dog ever that's being?
Yeah. So yeah, and we're not the only. And So we love as many dogs as possible because again, we work in hot environments. So to be able to give one a break and check the other one on would be great. I mean, that's every handler like, yeah, give us two, give us three if you can give it to us. That's great. Normally it's one per platoon, one per troop for the most part. So one third of the team will get a dog. Each will get a dog. And if we were to get to how we would do that is, we really just kind of split them up and we just kind of split workloads. And then if we're going to that urban environment and we were to split forces, now both those forces have the same capability. So we can kind of keep those things uniform as we continue to prosecute problems, go on little manhunts here in larger urban environments. So yeah, the 2-dog system works well. No, they don't normally like hunt together or work together per se. Like, hey, let's let them both go at the same time down the same hallway. We've tested that in training for sure. It's capable. They're capable. Certain dogs are capable of doing it together, but in reality, we really take the chance of just are they just going to get in a fight with themselves and not go do what they're supposed to go do. So we lean away from that one.
Do they usually get along, or are they?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, from the time we get a dog in the kennel, we want them to be dog neutral, which pays dividends while they're active. And unfortunately, when they come out, that's another big part of their transition into civilian life. If you've had to be dog neutral and you're a dog and you're a pack animal and, you're supposed to interact with other, animals of the same, and you haven't, and you've almost been, I don't say stripped of it or corrected for it, but you've just been taught to be neutral. Whether there's a dog there or not, you remain the same. You're not here to sniff butts. You're not here to check in. So they never really get to experience over the time in the kennel like that normal dog interaction that you would see. And I say that's the majority. There are a few dogs where let's let them see what happens and let's just see if they can coexist. And for the most part, because they're so neutral, they just literally do that. They coexist. They don't really mess with each other. They just, you go that way, I go that way. I'll take that tree, you take this tree. You know what I mean? Kind of deal. And they're really just in tune with whoever's out there giving them the command. So, but then we'll see as we transition into civilian life, like we transition Miki here. We've got a family dog, complete opposite spectrum, floppy-eared Catahoula leopard dog. And she's, our firstborn, and, they tolerate, they coexist, but he doesn't know how to play with her per se. We don't really, put the butt up and start getting the zoomies with her. And it's just kind of, you see the residual of some of the training from when we were active.
Yeah. Okay. So how long were you deployed with Miki, or how many times were you deployed?
So we were out for roughly 6.5 months. And then after that workup, remember they're treated as a weapon system. So they're kind of in rotation. So every 2 years they get a new handler. So we go through one workup with them, and then I come home and I basically put him back in the armory, the kennel, and then the next guy checks in and then takes him on the next 2-year cycle. So that's kind of Mando. And in my scenario, that was the same way. So we had 1 2-year cycle together. And then he went to the same team, but different handler. So we went on one deployment, and it was 6 months long. Good time.
Yeah.
Long.
I mean, is that because you have to take a break, but he has to go back out?
Yeah. So yes and no. I ended up taking a break, which I took the break at the kennel so I could again be at the kennel more or less to be around him. But it's because that's kind of the life cycle of a Navy SEAL is like, hey, you do one thing and now you have milestones or checkpoints throughout your career to be able to continue to move up and rank up. So you need to fulfill certain billets and certain jobs. So that was considered like my diversity tour. So still a Navy SEAL, but I was off kind of doing a specialty duty, and I brought it back to the team. So that checks the box on my resume for that. So now I needed to move to the next one, which is like LPO, which is a lead petty officer. Now I'm going to be in a leadership role. And then after that, I would move to the next leadership role. So those milestones really eventually started to hurt our program because nobody could really sink their teeth into the dog program and work one dog until his wheels fell off and maintain that relationship and that bond and watch how that team just progresses and gets better and better and better throughout the years. Our program wasn't set up like that.
Okay.
So you get a 2-year run with the dog, and then you're normally moving off to the next job. That's how the program was set up.
That must be
Oh, it's rough. Oh, it's nothing worse than watching the next guy mess everything up. And I say that with a lot of love. The second handler did a great job with him. Came in and drank through a fire hose, and then he had me breathing over his neck, saying you're doing it wrong all the time. So I don't fault him at all. He gave it his all. The dog is an absolute handful, and I think he crushed it. And if I had the opportunity to tell him that, I would tell him that again. But at the time, I was probably just really upset that someone else was, handling what I thought was my dog. Right. Yeah. So I had a little bit of that and that ego and kind of that entitlement at the time.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, that's your dog, right? I mean,
right. I put my heart and soul into that thing. There's no doubt about that. But we're here together now. And what happened was meant to happen. And it helped him grow. It gave me time to grow and get ready for his arrival here so he can live the second chapter even better. So yeah, it's good.
Yes. And and we promised you we're gonna meet Miki, everyone. Chris had explained that he was gonna try to have him on, but we talked about like the ball thing, and he didn't think he was gonna be able to be on camera.
Yeah, I definitely want to get him up here. It's just we get into tight spaces and it's still kind of full speed still. Even I think we're almost 18 months, close to like 18 months from being out. He's still getting used to, hardwood floors and furniture that he can't jump all over and things like that. But he's doing great. He's transitioned really well.
That's it.
Not only into that.
I didn't. Yeah. I thought he'd been out a lot longer than that.
Oh no. We just hit a year. At the beginning of the year. So yeah, we're about, he came off deployment and we literally got with the Word Dog Foundation and we instantly took him on the road and said, I thought, hey, this would be the best thing for him. Like decompression for a week or two and then let's get him out. He loves to be pet. Like, let's go get him pet. Let's just go let him be a dog. And, that's been like the key to success. Just go let him be a dog sometimes. And
well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to. You mentioned the Warrior Dog Foundation. Yeah. So he comes back, and does he go straight to you, or does he go to? So just to mention, if anyone saw, we did an episode a year ago with Mike Ritland of who created or formed the Warrior Dog Foundation. So let's let you talk about that and what that is and what you're doing there and all that.
Yeah,
Miki came.
Well, in that relationship really started before Miki came home because. Again, I was reaching out. I had gotten out in March 2022 out of necessity and refusing the shot, to be frank. But also lined up to be just a good time for me to get out. Didn't realize that at the time. And definitely it was a very tough transition for me. Without saying, it was probably one of the lowest points in my life, kind of knee-jerk reaction, getting out of the Navy, thinking I was going to be there for the long haul. Family, bills, house, didn't really have a plan. It was just overall just yucky. I ain't gonna lie about it. It was pretty terrible. And I knew that I had this amazing opportunity to retire Miki here to my house because I was his first handler, and as the first handler, you get the first rights to refusal. So I knew the opportunity was coming, and I was like, man, we're just not ready for this right now. Like I don't have the proper space. I know he's a kennel dog. What I mean by that is he's comfortable. He's most comfortable in a kennel. That's when you see him relax and you can see his demeanor and the breathing slows down, the panting stops. And that's been throughout his career. So I knew at the time I was really struggling for work. I just didn't have the means, capital, or the plan to really execute to get the transition safely the way I know that he needed. So I started to reach out. I really did. I started to reach out to certain different foundations and different people that I knew that in the dog community, like, hey, I think I know what I need to make this happen. I think if I can get the specific tool, I think I've got the, enough information and enough experience with that particular dog that I can get this transition done. And, I wrote an email to the Warrior Dog Foundation and I was slightly familiar with them because as soon as I checked in, a dog named Denzel was retiring, and this dog was an absolute buzzsaw. Like, you weren't reaching in the kennel to grab him, you weren't petting him, you were hooking him on a leash, and you were going to do work, and you were taking him off the leash, and you were putting him away. And I remember the trainer saying, hey, we're sending Denzel to Texas to the Warrior Dog Foundation. There's a former team guy named Mike Ritland. He'll take these dogs and rehabilitate, decompress them, and then try to find a forever home for them. And I was like, man, that's really cool. fast forward now to where I'm in this, kind of this pit trying to find out how I'm going to retire, my working dog and make him comfortable. And in a safe environment, I've got 2 small kids. I've got a cat, another dog. I reached out to Mike and I just kind of laid it out to him. And I just said, hey brother, we've never met. Here's here's kind of what I know of you from Denzel. Thank you for that. And here's kind of the spot that I'm in. And here's what I'm looking for. Here's a solution. Here's what I think to be a good solution. And without really much hesitation, a phone interview to kind of vet who it was to make sure it wasn't just scamming them over email. And, he answered the mail quickly and said, him and the team there put together a plan after I said, I think if I can get a kennel in my backyard, something where I can have access to him. I was traveling, contracting at the time, so somewhere where my wife can do husbandry for him, clean, feed without, if he's having a bad day, she doesn't touch him or, be in direct contact with him. I think if I get this tool, I'll be able to really make the transition. And that sparked the Home with Handlers program. And where the team, the president, Laura, and where Mike really saw kind of not only the uniqueness of the situation, but what a cool idea to be able to maintain the bond that they had versus us getting the dog at the ranch, retrain and retread and kind of get them to slow down and then give them the first. What if we could just connect them now? And Chris, after I kind of told him my background, he has the information, he's comfortable with the transition, he's had the dog in the home before. And they thought it was a great idea. And from that, they started the Home with Handlers program. I think we've done three kennels to include Mickey's. And I'll tell you what, because of that, we got to bring this 4-legged hero home and just into a safe, comfortable, clean environment where everyone in the house felt good about it. And we just watched him just slowly just unwrap a little bit and kind of relax. Yeah. So yeah, that was huge. And that was, that'll happen within, I got the dog in October. We had gotten the kennel, I think, a couple of weeks prior to, so the timing was great. We reached out to Horizon Structures, who's been pretty pivotal in this program and making sure that we can deliver on these well-built, safe kennels for these animals. And Mike just absolutely, like I said, really without much question said, hey, you're in need. That dog's in need. We're not, this is a good fit. Let's see how this works. And from that, we grew the relationship, and they asked Miki to be an ambassador first and foremost, not me. Just Miki can't talk. So that's the only reason why I'm here today. But yeah, they asked Miki to be an ambassador because they really saw the opportunity with such a unique dog that once we got him to slow down, we could take him out and let people pet one of these animals that, would otherwise have been euthanized without the Word Dog Foundation, and say, hey, this is how great they can be. They can be transitioned, they can downshift, they can slow down, and they can be, really role models for everybody who is a service member, whether you got 4 legs or 2, on, hey, you can do it. You can really make the transition and find some new purpose here in the civilian world. And that's what Mickey's done for sure. And through him, absolutely, it's bled over to me. Once he made that establishment here into our lives, I found purpose. I found a reason to get up. And to make sure he had everything he needed. So without him being able to talk, him holding me accountable really gave me the juice I needed to get my stuff together and get back to being the better husband, friend, and father that I needed to be. And that's big shout outs to the Word Dog Foundation and Mike for that, because that dog really was a turning point for us, and it helped solidify everybody's transition and made us really whole as a family. So.
Yeah. Would you say that he, and I just realized I have this diffuser that plays these chimes. Can you hear that?
No. But we got them too. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh no, those things have been playing this whole time, and they just.
Oh, you're fun. But if I don't plug my phone in soon, it's gonna run out. So hold on. Let me. Can I fix that real quick? Yeah. I may have to just go grab a charger.
Oh, no.
Are you using Young Living, or what are you using? What kind of oil do you got?
Yes. Yeah. Do you use
Young Living people? Yeah, we're Young Living people. Here we go. We got a couple options here. All right. Apologize.
No
Very unprofessional. Very unprofessional.
No, it's perfect. So yeah. So do you feel like Miki? Would you say that he had PTSD when he came out, or would you?
Yeah, I would say so. And I would say there was, before PTSD, which I thought was really interesting when we started getting him back. And when you start to look at the animal and he starts to decompress and he's slowing things down, he still is holding on to this ball, right? He's using it really for comfort. It's his comfort zone. I just can see it in his face. His ears go back. It's still, it's just this comfort. So there's no point in me constantly asking for it at this point, right? Like there's just no real point for it. And what I realized is that the PTSD is really the conflict between him and I. And it's because I'm always taking away that comfort in a really stressful environment, right? And I came to that conclusion one day when I watched the dog interact with my wife. And a complete different demeanor, very different, very relaxed, very soft. And I realized, unfortunately, that I'm the problem. And it's not his fault, but I can be associated now, my tone, right? Like associated with certain things that might trigger those responses from him. So realizing that was a big step in helping him out with what I consider that's part of his PTSD is there's that conflict of, hey, for the past like 7 years, someone's always taken my stuff from me, right? So here it's, hey man, cool. We don't care. Here's 40 of them, like,
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares, man? Like no one cares about it. We don't want it. And it's starting to work. Like it's slowly, he's just starting to let this thing go. Hey, the dog comes and we'll sniff, and then we lose the dog and he goes back to the ball, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was one that I really identified as kind of like unique, I guess, because there's still, I guess, when people think PTSD, yes, when the thunder comes in and he's sleeping in his pen, all of a sudden he starts marfing because it's a loud bang and it startled him, I'm sure, right? We get, near boats and water, you can kind of see the nails go into the ground, like he's looking to get on the boat. He's looking to, things like that. I can kind of see just kind of runs through doorways, just kind of the small little things that are like, man, that's still part of the conditioning, right? Like that's not him being a dog. That's part of the conditioning. So, yeah, for the most part, it's he's working through it really well. I think getting on the road and promoting for the Warrior Dog Foundation is like, he's literally smiling when we take him in. He can just go get pet, and the body language is there. He leans into whoever he's getting pet by, and just, wants more of it. And I'm like, man, this dog's really happy doing this, and that's why we're so thankful and able to do it, because it's not only great for us to give us great purpose, give back to these dogs that are in similar situations to Miki, but for him to have purpose, and I know that's going to make him live longer. Watching him, him having purpose and not lose that. And I've seen that in a couple of dogs that I've had. I've retired when I was running the kennel. Like they get home and they become couch dogs, and then the guys are like, "Hey man, like he's just not, he's not super. We're only like 7 or 8. He's not really moving much." I'm like, well, is he doing anything that resembles what he might have been doing in the past? Like, is he, have you tried just taking a handful of food and throwing it in the driveway and letting them just hunt for that? Like little games like that to keep them engaged. So along with PTSD, I also don't want them to fade away because of the lack of purpose either, right? So I think they go one in the hand. So we get them out, we get them rehabilitated, we get them back to where they can be good model citizens for 4-legged heroes everywhere. And then we try to give them some purpose with their new handlers at the Warrior Dog. Like, let's make sure that's inactive, someone who wants to get active with this dog, be engaged with the dog. And that's, another reason why the home and handlers, I think, is just an absolute amazing extension of what the mission already is, because you keep that bond. You're getting the active person that with that dog in a stressful environment and knows that dog very well. So, PTSD and kind of conditioning,
Yeah, to be able to reunite them must be amazing.
It's really cool when you get to see it and watch it, and that the dog's safe and everyone and the dog is comfortable. That's really good, and the handler owner is going to be comfortable, and that bleeds right down the leash. So you can see that when we drop these kennels off, and just that sigh of relief people have of like, okay, this is good, and this is good, and we're not alone, right? Yeah. It's kind of the feeling that you kind of feel in some of the cases you get is like, this dog did everything it was asked to do. It did it at a very high level. yeah, sure, it needs some special attention, but so did I when I got out, and I received it. So where can we help him or her at, right? So for their transition, and that's what the Warrior Dog does. Really does fill the gap and bridge that for all sorts of dogs that just needed that second chance or just that little bit of decompression.
Right. And how often does this happen where you're able to reunite dogs? Is this
Well, since my short time, I've been on board about 12 months now, and I would say we've done 3 of the kennels, which has been amazing. One to another NSW dog, East Coast dog. Actually, I had the pleasure of working with as well, and he was an absolute monster. So home with handlers right now, I think I'm on 3. I'm tracking 3, and then as far as getting dogs from the ranch in Texas into their forever home. That's an ongoing process, and I'll tell you what. I know that we work our hardest to get as many dogs out of our facility as possible, but the wait list is just kind of growing on us, and we are looking for very unique and special people, and very specific situations to be able to bring these dogs home too. So. Not as often as I like is what I guess the answer is. Not as often as I would like. I would like if I could clear the kennel out, if I could get all 30 dogs out of our, and rotate every 30 days. Hey, it's the 30-day get well plan, and we're going to get you in and out of here. It's just some dogs need a little bit more time, and unfortunately, some dogs just don't ever get that chance to turn around. And that's the beautiful thing about what Mike has out in Texas is that they can live a comfortable, happy life. For the rest of their days, So that's what drew me to the whole thing. And again, not as many dogs as I would like. We don't get to get as many out, but we do our best.
Yeah, and just want to mention this is. I just want to say, I feel like I have to preface this. This is not not a plug for me, but I did just launch this book. It's Misha's Heart Adventure.
Yeah.
And it's about emotional regulation while learning how animals think and feel. I don't talk. Yeah, it's all about really understanding animals and kids having an opportunity to learn a little bit about how to do some dealing with big feelings in healthy ways.
That's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
And long story behind this. I won't go on and on about it. I'll probably do like maybe a launch video or something. But I think, I really wanted this book to launch. This all worked out exactly how my brain has been having it in the back of my head ever since Mike was on the show. Actually, the book took a really long time to get published. It went through a lot of just a lot of trial and error to get it done. But I always had it in my mind. I wanted this book to benefit animal welfare organizations. And it really felt well to me to start this out launching with 50% of all any purchases of this book in any format. It's going to be e-book and print will go to the Warrior Dog Foundation for at least, I'm setting up 30 days, but at least 30 days. And, but we just want you guys to jump in there and help us out, because when we self-publish, if people don't know this, it is self-published. You do not make hardly anything, and I'm not kidding you. They take a lot for printing at Amazon, which is where you usually self-publish. And so it's going to take a lot to really help out the Warrior Dog Foundation so we can donate money. So people, this is, by the time this video is posted, maybe I'll have a QR code up here. I'll definitely have a link in the description at the very least. And you can go there and get this book, and 50% of all proceeds will go to the Warrior Dog Foundation. So it's absolutely, this is my pleasure. I'm honored to be able to do that. And I've had family in the military too who have gone through a lot. So I'm very happy to be able to do this. And also there's a music that goes with it that kids might enjoy as well. I have that on my website and on Amazon, so I'll have information about that in the description. So anyway,
we're a dancing family, so we're happy to hear about the soundtrack. I'm telling you, yes. So we will be jamming out, and thank you so much. I mean, I know I can speak for Mike, Laura, and everyone here at the Warrior Dog Foundation. Thank you all so much for not only supporting you and your book, but thank you for making that just amazing contribution. Thank you.
It's my honor to be able to do it, like I said. And if people, if you like the intro song, that's one of the songs. That's Walking Down the
Okay, awesome.
You get into that. And Rub My Belly is a song that one day I need to, I'm being forced, I think. I don't want to, but I think I'm being forced to do this on TikTok. I've never really I did TikTok for a while, quick, and long story, but I might have to get on there. But I'm on Instagram too. So between different social media, one day I just took a look. Thousands of people had used this song, and I had no idea. Rub My Belly. It's like the song most people really get into on the album. So check out Rub My Belly. There's snippets on my website. Care.com is my website. And it's cheap. It's like 99 cents a song on there. So
we're all over that. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
So thank you. So, and I want to thank the Warrior Dog Foundation for letting us do that, and Home with Handlers. I was just curious. So who can adopt one of these dogs? I mean, obviously they're special.
They are, and I don't want to pigeonhole anybody in or out. So what I would do is I would just anybody who is interested just to follow up on the website, thewarriordogfoundation.org, and that has basically the entire criteria really written out. And it's things that really make sense for these animals. Like, there's going to need to be some sort of containment, some sort of fencing system. We're looking for people who have had experience with high drive dogs before. And these are just some very broad, general characteristics we're looking for. But if you're definitely interested, we want your application. Just make sure that it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like we are retiring, former high drive military working dogs that have, unfortunately they're on their second chance and have probably, had an accident with the wrong person. So they've been rehabilitated. They make awesome companions if you qualify. And again, we want to see your application. Let's just make sure it makes sense for everybody. Yeah.
How come there's so many that aren't with their handlers?
So again, so if we kind of go back to the situation of how NSW program is set up, you get the dog for 2 years, then you kind of move on. Well, not only do you move on professionally, but you probably move on personally too. So your family starts to grow. And when you start adding the wife, kids, other dogs, other cats, other animals, unfortunately, that just may be a difficult transition for that military dog to really transition to immediately. Like, it's not necessarily like we're getting a dog from the shelter where we can pick the, hey, give me the oldest or whatever one you decide to pick and bring them home and slowly transition them. Remember, a lot of these dogs go from their military working kennel and trying to transition from that, which in some cases, it can be a loud, stressful environment. It's a kennel environment. There's no doubt about it. So what we find is, really kind of getting them away from that. Then you can kind of see what you really have as far as the dog's personality in a different environment. And we see that in most cases, a lot of these animals will transition well and become couch dogs really easily. But, in the case of some of our warrior dogs, not so much. And they need a little extra special attention. So, yeah, I mean, it's doable. It's it just needs to be the right situation for everybody. We want everyone to just be safe. That's all, and live happy. So.
Right. Do they continue to maintain contact? Like if somebody ends up taking on dogs, do they supporting them?
Yeah. So say in the case we've got a dog that goes to the second handler. Absolutely. The first handler and second handler are going to communicate. Unfortunately, they don't last forever, so they do pass. And when that happens, you see the text thread kind of go out, and anyone who had a part in that dog's life, whether from a training standpoint or from a handler standpoint, we know we just lost a buddy, someone that we trusted with our lives. They trusted us with theirs. So yeah, it can be. We all keep in contact when these dogs do move on and move out. And I know all the handlers, for the most part, would love to get their dogs back. I don't think there's any handler like, no, I don't want them. It just has to, unfortunately, it's not always the right scenario. And that dog, again, may have been through multiple other handlers up to the point where he's up for adoption. So what that handler might remember that dog as, he may not be the same dog that he remembers too. So.
Right. And, I think, we talked about this a little bit when Mike was on too, but it just, It's unbelievable that these dogs serve, they're hero dogs, they put their lives at risk, they're right up front, and then they come home and they're an organization has to develop
Right.
to transition them instead of the United States taking
Yeah, the DoD or the U.S. Yeah, or any entity that has some large funding budget for retired service members. Because, and I agree with you, and that's it's sad that Mike had to do this out of necessity. That he was the one person that said, roughly 12 years ago, absolutely not. Those dogs will not be euthanized. Send them to me. And that's how this whole thing started, was just purely that is unacceptable. No, we can do better. And he's proving that with the Warrior Dog Foundation. And I kind of equate it to this, like, as a former service member, I have entitlements. I get health care. I have all these programs in place to make sure that, I can live healthy and happy after my military service. And there is nothing set up by the DoD or any government agency that renders any aid or awareness or any type of help for these retired military dogs. So I always say, the Warrior Dog is becoming the VA for canines. They're the canine veterans assistants, and it's like, right now we're rehabilitating, rehousing, and giving sanctuary if necessary. But it's like, we start moving into like, so who's going to help us with the healthcare portion of this? Because that's another leg that needs to be taken care of. Hey, so Mike developed a dog food brand that actually does what it's supposed to do. So he's handling not only the housing, but now the nutrition inside of it, which with that leg, you see, once we get the right nutrition into the animals, we decompress the animals, we let them allow to be dogs, and we start to build a bond of trust and mutual relationship. Wow, we start to see a different animal. So like, the dude really did get it figured out as far as like, hey, how can I help? And it's not just by giving sanctuary or giving them a place to sleep at night. It's let's check the nutrition. Let's check to make sure they're not in pain. Let's check their teeth. Like, let's just do all these things to make sure that, okay, now we know the dog's true character, and now we can start to decide what the fate and how we're going to handle it for the day. So yeah,
it's completely dependent on donations or what to pay for.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It's 100%. We run 100% off donations, and I can tell you that like almost all the proceeds are going to the care and welfare of those dogs, whether that be husbandry care, which is a 24/7, 365-day job. And shout out to the Kennel team down in Texas, holding it down. Miki, I know you're down there just making these dogs as happy as they can be. And thank you personally. And I know Mike, I know Laura, everyone on the team. We thank everyone that's down there caring for these dogs on a day-to-day basis, because it is a daily interaction. It is, it is not for the weak of heart. It is early mornings, late nights, emergencies, and the crew down there absolutely crushes it. So yeah, we run completely off donations. Again, check us out at thewarriordogfoundation.org. Yeah. The amazing stories of so many of those dogs are on the websites, and kind of gives you a bigger scope of kind of what the mission is and what we're doing, and how we're impacting, the wait list of 15 plus dogs right now looking for that opportunity to continue life and live out the rest of their best days. So yeah, it's mission critical for us right now. We're really working hard.
Yeah. How many people are down there volunteering? What's the size of the team down there?
So the team down there, and we've got everywhere from people who are on staff and to helpers. I would say, yeah, we've got I'd say 3 at any given time, and I believe 4 to 5 that can rotate in down there. So it's quite a lot of work with the amount of dogs we have there right now.
And you said there's like 15 dogs in waiting. Where are they?
Well, they're either holding at their unit or at their kennel, waiting to be. They could potentially be, at some form of foster. That I'm not 100% sure of. I know that someone's reached out to us. They put an application and said, "Hey, this dog is in need," and we are on an as-needed basis and on severity of the case. So again, if we've got a dog that's getting euthanized tomorrow, it's pretty much a stop all. I mean, the team, Mike, is pretty much, hey, whoa, give us as much information as possible. and really we're trying to kick the can down the road until we can get a kennel for this dog. And we don't like hearing that a dog's going to be euthanized, especially a dog that's 4, 5, 6, 7 years into their career, and it's perhaps it's a repeat offense, but at the same time, they've done what they've been asked to do for the most part. So yeah, it can be a fire drill at times for sure.
Oh my gosh, I was curious. Are they transitioning into like robot dogs in the military instead of anything?
Well, aren't we all? I mean, I guess that's kind of like, the purpose of the conditioning is to good order and discipline, right? And that's even at a human level. You are there to be used for the mechanism of the greatness of our country, and that's just what it is, and that's what I believe. So to answer your question, to some respects, yes, but I think even some of the two-legged volunteers are kind of in that same position where you fall into a routine, what's expected of you, your right and left lateral limits. And with the dog being such a critical asset and putting it in such a stressful environment, it really does need to be black and white. Like, here's what you can, and here's what you cannot do. You cannot bite dad. You cannot bite anyone that looks like dad. That's just a hard and fast rule. And what you can do is you can run as fast as you want when I say free. That's your command. Go be a dog, right? So it's very black and white for them. Which transitions well into the civilian world, in my opinion, because if you maintain that a little bit, you still do have that control in this environment, which I value very, very much. Because again, when things get elevated, when we find a random basketball in the garage and we want to destroy it, we still understand, hey, what it means to come here, what it means to go on our kennel. So we still have our manners, what we'll say. Maybe not military parenting, but we do have good manners still, and the commands are still commands, for sure.
And do they think, I guess I was thinking, like, are they going to consider, like, you see the little, literally that robot dog in front of Trump's logo thing, could they use?
Here's my take on that. Yeah, you can, we'll use the term mission specific for that one, right? So in my opinion, I'm sure there's a call for that, but nothing's going to replace the dog. So we can talk from a tactical standpoint. Again, I can have x-ray vision. I can find humans in places that most people wouldn't find humans. I can find explosive odor in weird places. But there's this like third element that dog brings, especially when you're in the middle of nowhere. And that is that little piece of home that when you get back to wherever your wood hut is that you're living in for the next 6 to 10 months, you can let you can pet him up, and he's going to reciprocate what dogs do best, and that's unconditional love. So I don't think that the robot dog is going to be able to fulfill that want or need from the boys, but and that's something that we hold pretty close to us, because again, it is that quick check back to reality on why we're doing what we're doing, right? So yeah. Robot dog, sure, but yeah, not going to replace kids.
Oh, I'm sure the guys wouldn't want, but I guess I was just thinking to help prevent all these dogs that are trained a certain way and don't necessarily.
It's a good thought. It's a good thought. Yeah.
But could they? Maybe there is an element that they just couldn't fill. I don't know that much about robot dogs, but
yeah, I like the real ones. Yeah, I like the real ones.
The scent and all that. If they could.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do with that. How that would work. For like carrying things, you can mount a gun to the back of those things now. So yeah, like I said, mission specific. I'm sure there's a call for it for sure. But yeah, I remember these dogs swim in with us. They swim through rough surf. They can jump out of the planes with us. So we tried to get them subsurface a couple of times. Like, hey, can we put them in a steel can and get them underwater? So we really push the limits on what the canine can do from a military standpoint, and the boys are still pushing that to this day. What else can they do that we don't know yet?
Oh wow! Okay.
So there we go. So too far away, and can you hear me?
Yes, I can definitely hear you. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What's the quality? Am I too dark?
You are perfect. You're pretty good. It depends on where you are. Like when you went up, we could see your face better. When you went down, it gets a little hard to see. Maybe if you went to I guess it would be your right, maybe.
He'll come back though. I can call him over. I got lots of treats. I'm ready for this. Come here. Come on. Hello. Hello, friend.
Hey,
Hello.
there's
There
Mickey.
you go. Have a treat.
Oh,
Yep. There. Come here, buddy. Come on. Good boy. Yeah. So this is Mickey. 8-year-old Belgian Malinois. We found him out in Europe somewhere. Former SEAL Team 10 Canine. As you can see, he's got something rubber in his mouth. And behind us is the kennel that the Warrior Dog Foundation has granted us through the Home with Handlers program. And it's really been the key asset for making this transition. I mean, just what it's been, which has been amazing. Yes, I have more treats for you, sir. So he'll be running in and out of frame quite a bit as we discuss kind of
yeah,
what this did for us and kind of the features of it.
amazing. I can only see a corner of it, but it looks incredible. It looks like there's a house over it. Like,
Yeah. So let's go for it. Let's go for it. Come on. Let's just go for it.
oh wow.
So,
Oh my gosh.
so this is
That is wow, that's more than I imagined.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Amish built, we've got, I mean, poly decking here. We've got, upgraded paneling for added protection here versus the chain link fencing. And then inside, you'll find heated and cooled. He's got a bed, guillotine gate, so that if he doesn't, need to be touched, he doesn't have to be touched. So yeah, we're very thankful for this. We ran our own power to it, so he's got really everything he needs to be comfortable. And
That's amazing. I mean, people are living in that size house now. That's like a tiny house.
yeah, it is a small tiny house. There's no doubt about that. So
That is so awesome. Wow. So look at that. That's incredible. So that's what when people donate, that's what you're helping.
absolutely,
Wow.
yep, fully insulated. Like I said, Amish built. I mean, this thing is solid as they get, and it's been pivotal in the transition for Mickey. Come here, bud.
Wow.
Come on. Come here. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Yes, have one. Another one? Yes. Thank you. Goodbye. So he's able to, now I've got a little bit over like a quarter acre fenced in backyard for him. So between the kennel and the backyard, he really does have this upgraded version of what he had at the NSW kennel. So he has the ability to be locked in this, say we have a storm or inclement weather, or just maybe we have a party in the backyard where we have footballs flying, baseballs flying, and we need to get him somewhere. He's able to be comfortable in here. But for the most part, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I thought really drone just went by behind you.
All right, so yeah, we've got some power lines that are getting worked on. We're using helicopters to install a new power system here. So I apologize for that. But the plane noise is really common in Hampton Roads. It's jet noise every 10 minutes.
So does he sleep in the house with you or does he sleep out there?
So here's like our so we started with him in the unit, right? So he's in the kennel for the most part. He comes out, we transition slow, short periods of time out in the yard for like the first couple of weeks, say 20 minutes up to an hour, up to 3 hours. Where Mickey's at right now in a transition is that this is kind of like the outside doghouse, really. So we can use it if we need it, if we're out of town and we have someone taking care of him. We can use it if we have people in the backyard. But this is pretty much a really, really well-built doghouse for him. And then he has the entire backyard to himself. He is more comfortable out here sleeping to where if we were to bring him in the house when we've tried, it's up and down, even within a kennel inside the home. So I give him the option. If he wants to go outside, he can go outside. If he wants to come inside, he can come inside. So it's been relatively colder out here recently, so he's been having more time in home. But if we were to turn the camera around, he's just basking in the sun, chewing on whatever toy he's found in the grass, and really enjoys the space out here, and is very comfortable.
Wow. Yeah, it must be nice. Yeah, you're in short sleeves and you're in Virginia.
Yes, yeah. We just
That's not that far. I mean, it's freezing.
A week ago we had snow. We had 11 inches a week ago. So that's like the running joke here. Like one day it's 30 degrees, the next day you're in board shorts and flip flops. So you just got to be ready for it all.
So if somebody, he seems like he's a little less, I don't know, like if you had a dog sitter or something like that, would he just get used to that person if you had him meet him before and that person could come in and do whatever? Or
and I think really at this point he's a really good judge of character. So as long as there's no no negative vibes. It's all positive vibes coming from me, from my wife. We introduce somebody. If we say, "Hey, Miki, go say hi," like it's normally the same thing you saw him do to me, which is he'll kind of curl up to you, lean into you, let you pet him, and then from there, you can kind of get a good judge whether he's going to be a good fit. We haven't met anybody since the transition he didn't like. Let's put it that way. So it's been 100% dog with everyone we've encountered. Everyone in the neighborhood loves him. The kids love him. The kids love showing him off to their friends. So yeah, he's pretty neutral to everybody, but he really, really does appreciate the affection.
And so for dogs that maybe aren't so amenable to other people who are transitioning, is there like a little slot or something that people can put the food in and
Yeah, so for this they have the Gacy gate, so it just shuts the dog either in the interior of the kennel or the exterior of the kennel. So either side can be cleaned, and or you can either feed and water without ever having to have contact. So, and that was the same system we had at the kennel at Naval Special Warfare for the SEAL team. And most kennels are set up that way, just for ease of moving dogs in and out and being able to use the kennel system kind of in two different ways. But for those dogs that have that issue that are transitioning, who need a little bit extra space, this particular unit, the custom one we got from Horizon Structure, really does kind of cover down all that. We got to wait while this passes.
Yeah, you can really hear it. It's not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're actually dropping in power lines with helicopters. So it's kind of a cool gig. Yeah.
Yeah, I automatically, for some reason, when it first went by, it looked weird. It didn't look like it looked. I'm in Jersey, so we're drone minded at this point. Although I'm the only person in Jersey.
I understand.
I haven't seen one. I'm like the only person. My husband's seen them. I have friends who've seen them. I am the only.
Not person. You, huh? You think everyone's crazy?
Yeah. We're in a flight path though of like all the airports, like Newark and all that, and so I think that's maybe why it's not right over me. They weren't coming as much, but anyway. So this kennel. So this is an example of. I mean, it's like more than just a kennel. It's like a duplex kennel. I don't know what you call it, like a house kennel.
Yeah, we definitely. And what we modeled this after was we wanted the dog to be able to have its own space in and outside, right? And then we wanted to be able to have someone handle, manage, clean, and care for the dog, again, without having necessarily to interact with the dog. So this was kind of the solution we had come up with. And again, this thing's really, really well built. And we've got some good reviews from the people who've received them saying that, hey, this has been the tool we've needed to take the next step forward in our transition for whoever it be, whether it be Brutus or another dog that we've given the kennel to. It's been a real important piece of their transitioning and allowing them to do it, comfortably, and most importantly, in the safety of their own home, where they can keep that bond they had when they were still deployed or working actively together. So that's the whole point of the program, is we want to make sure that bond is reunited and stays reunited as long as humanly possible, for the sake of the dog, and to be frank, for the sake of the handler as well.
Do you think there's any possibility, maybe with our new administration, that there's any chance there would be funding to help out with this kind of thing? Like make it, maybe you wouldn't even want them involved. I don't know, but
no, I think that it's absolutely necessary. I think that if we could get as much attention on this mission as possible, and kind of get people to understand, this is kind of just missed and swept under the rug. I think that a government agency or some kind of government programming would absolutely be necessary to really make sure we don't have the wait list, that there is no question when the dog retires. Like, it's not a question of who or what or when or how. It's here's the protocol, here's the processes that are already in place, and here's the funding for it. We're not talking humans, no offense, for 60, 80 years. We're talking a dog for 6 to 8 years in this case, because we pretty much run them until we can't. Mm-hmm. And that's not in a negative manner, but they're there to serve the purpose, and again, we want to make sure that they're doing their job for as long as comfortably possible.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we can try to, I don't know, generate something to get going.
I mean, I know that there are, we've got our team members of the Word Dog Foundation pulling as many ears and just trying to get as many people to listen to what we have going on and kind of the need that's out there right now. And I think that we've got some people in the right places who are helping us understand what that landscape looks like to be able to push something up to get what you're talking about, that kind of funding and programming in place. So.
Oh, right. Cool. Maybe one of the things like that what do they care petitions or things like that sort of like getting a lot of people to sign maybe. But we'll keep you updated, everyone in the audience, whoever's watching, if there's some other ways that you can get behind something like that.
Miki is 8 years old. Oh, he'll be 9 this, I think it's October or September. So 9 years old. I think he looks great. He's no real issues with him. He's still very active. Every day he's looking for either, some sort of long hot walk or a run with a mountain bike, or he wants to do something. So, and that makes me happy. And, seeing him and still have that want to go out and go do things is just kind of the testament to kind of life he's living and kind of the mood that he's in. So, yeah, he's still very active. He's 8. He's got his friend here and our family dog who keeps him company, kind of barks at him from here to there, and they go out and they run through the Dismal Swamp together when we go out on long hikes. So, yeah, he's 8, still holding up well.
Yeah, no, he looks wonderful. He's bigger than I thought. He's longer than I thought.
Come here. We're talking about you, man. Come here.
This is your moment.
We're talking about you, man. Come on. This is all for you, bud. And he's gone. He's gone. That's it. He's gone.
He's very youthful. He's definitely got that energy about him.
He's got a puppy. He just got this puppy mentality. That's what we always say. He's got the puppy. I mean, right now, he's just puppy mentality. When you see him, it's just kind of droopy ears, drops the ears, just kind of puppy, low wag tail. It's just, he just got a puppy mentality, which is really fun to cater to. So.
Well, I wonder if there's anything that we missed.
Just guys, if you don't know, check it out. The Warrior Dog Foundation. The mission is amazing. These dogs are amazing, and the people behind the dogs benefit as well. So it's like this dual purpose that you can serve, and just you can find your hearts, help us out. The mission's critical by any means possible. Thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. I mean, I really can't thank you enough. And I think we nailed it. I mean, I appreciate your time on behalf of the Warrior Dog, Mike Ritland, and Laura Sellers. Man, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please, check out the Warrior Dog Foundation's website. Consider what you could do to support them. Maybe check out the book, because then you got your nice little book in hand, and you also can help.
Absolutely. Please do. I'm looking forward to the book and, again, the soundtrack. So we're ready for it.
Maybe we can get a video of Miki dancing to or doing Rub My Belly. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Done deal. We'll get it coordinated. Don't you worry. We'll get it done.
And everyone, thank you so much for watching. And I just want to, say celebrate. Keep in mind these hero dogs. And also just want to thank you for your service. Thank everybody for their service in the military and law enforcement, all the military canines and law enforcement canines we didn't talk about. They serve in many different roles, different canine roles. But thank you for everyone, and God bless.
Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. I like my ears rubbed.